Welcome back to At the Buzzer. I'm your host, Dee McCollum, joined alongside my co-host, Tyler Fertel and Campbell Klein. And today we are bringing you guys I guess you can say, our annual NBA lottery mock draft, because we did this last year for the 2020 draft, and now here we are back at it again, but this time for the 2021 NBA draft. So it's just going to be a lottery mock draft, pretty simple, no trades because it's kind of hard to predict that kind of stuff. So yeah, let's just get right into it. So with the first overall pick for the Detroit Pistons, we have them selecting Cade Cunningham, point guard out of Oklahoma State. Tyler, what are your thoughts on the fit and how Cade plays and how this will help the Pistons?
Well, first of all, I think we're all just hoping our mock draft this year is a little more accurate than it was last year. We were a little off there. I mean, we had LaMelo going to the Bulls, Onyeka going to the Hornets. I think that was my bad. But we had not the greatest mock draft overall. But we're hoping it's going to be a little better this time, and I think it's going to be a little better this time because starting off here with the number one overall pick, we've Cade Cunningham. Obviously, Cade has really good size for the point guard position. I think he's 6'8", which is even taller than another player who has a little bit of an advantage at the point guard position, LaMelo Ball, who won Rookie of the Year in his first year. And I feel like Cade Cunningham he's a really all around great offensive player. Obviously, his defense is but his physical tools and how like his size at the point guard position, it's going to help him with that because he can guard multiple positions. Like, I mean, obviously Ben Simmons was a better play or a better defender coming out of college, but I mean, he had Ben Simmons like reach and his size gives him the capability to be such a good defender between so many positions. So I think that definitely gives Cade Cunningham the upside compared to maybe some smaller guards who are not that great at defense. And then I also think that he's a kind of an underrated shooter. I feel like people think that his just athletic ability is what makes him special. I mean, his shot is really, really good. I mean, obviously, there are some players in this draft class that probably have a better one than him, but overall, I don't think you can make an argument for anyone else being better than him. I feel like his athletic ability, along with his underrated shooting and his capability on the defensive side of the ball, really just makes him the best prospect this year. And I feel like he's going to be, he's going to be an all-star in 2 to 3 years, is my perspective, just because everywhere on the court, I mean, he can do really everything. So, yeah, he's a really good prospect, and I definitely think the Pistons should take him with the number overall pick.
Yeah, Tyler covered that pretty well. He's just the all-around best player in this draft. He was the best player in college basketball. He's super young. He is one and done out of college. And, yeah, he's just the obvious number one pick here. There's nowhere else you can go with this. He's the best leader in the draft. He had the best season in college basketball. He has just as much upside as anyone else. He's just the obvious number one in this scenario.
Yeah, I really like his defensive potential. I know he's a great offensive player, but like Tyler mentioned, his frame is definitely going to make him have that defensive potential in the NBA. Ben Simmons, he has a great frame for a point guard, obviously, because he's similar size to Cade. He's a little taller, but I don't think his offensive potential coming into the NBA was higher than Cade's defensive potential coming into the NBA. So that's why I really like Cade as a prospect, and I think Detroit's definitely should take him with this first overall pick, and I think they will. But there was a report saying that they weren't even set on him for the number one overall pick, but I think that's kind of crazy. I think he's definitely going to be the number one overall pick. So we're just going to move on to the second overall pick, and this is owned by the Houston Rockets. And we have them selecting Jalen Green, a shooting guard out of the NBA G League. He's a part of the G League Ignite. He's a very, very athletic player, very explosive, a great slasher, and he can also shoot the ball pretty efficiently and effectively too. So, Campbell, we'll go to you. What are your thoughts on Jalen?
Yeah. So Jalen, when I see Jalen Green, I just think of an absolute athletic freak, like you said, Dean. So, I think he has the most athleticism out of anyone in this draft. I think really he can determine his own future by seeing how much he can really like lock in on the defensive end and just like sort of slowing the game down for himself. Because throughout like his whole life, he's sort of just been running by dudes, dunking on dudes, just sort of like using his own gifted abilities to outplay everyone. But that's not how it's going to work in the NBA. He has every tool he needs to be a super successful NBA player. I think he's just got to, really locking on, especially the defensive side of the ball, along with just like sort of learning how to like play alongside other stars, just sort of stuff like that. I mean, he can play make already, he can score, and as I said, he's super athletic. So he's going to be a lot of fun to watch in the league this year.
I feel that the Rockets pick here might be the most interesting of the lottery, just because I mean they could go with Jalen Green, they could go with Jalen Suggs, they could go with probably the second most talented player in the draft, at least in my perspective, in Evan Mobley. But talking about Jalen Green, I feel that if the Rockets do take him here, if they stay at 2 and take him, I feel like a 1-2 punch on the offensive side of the ball and Jalen Green and Kevin Porter Jr. in maybe like 3 to 5 years could be one of the most explosive in the NBA. I mean, both of them are so explosive when they get to the hoop. If you watch highlights of both KPJ and Jalen Green, you see on every drive they go full strength and they go up and they give the defenders a run for their money, which is really, really impressive. And I feel like Jalen Green's 3-point shot is also pretty good. I mean, he doesn't get a lot of credit for him just because he's so explosive, but he actually can shoot the ball pretty well. And obviously, the NBA is continuing to become a 3-point shooting league. So as a guard, you kind of need to shoot well. I mean, a lot of guards have been kind of dropped and not have that much credit towards their name just because they can't shoot well. But the best guards in the league are always the ones that can shoot at least decently well or extremely well. I mean, you look at Steph and Damian Lillard. So if Jalen Green not only can get to the hoop quickly like a player like Ja Morant, but also can develop that shot and keep that 3-pointer going, he's going to be a dangerous player in the NBA because you never know what a player with his caliber can do and potential.
Yeah, I really, really am hoping that the Rockets take Jalen Green with the second overall pick, because seeing a backcourt, like Tyler mentioned, of Jalen Green and Kevin Porter Jr. would just be so fun to watch. I mean, 2 lefties, 2 very explosive slashers who can also shot create. That'd be super fun to watch. So I think Jalen Green will go second overall. And I actually saw a video of Kevin Porter Jr., or it was actually Jalen Green on Instagram Live, and Kevin Porter Jr. was in his little live stream comment section. He was talking about them pairing up and playing together. So maybe he knows a little more than everyone else, but hopefully Jalen Green goes number 2 so we can continue our nice little mock draft streak. Now moving on to the third overall pick, we have our first front court member. We have Evan Mobley, center out of USC, going 3rd overall to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Tyler, we'll start with you on this one.
Like I said before, I think Evan Mobley's the second most talented player in the draft. I feel like we saw in the March Madness run from USC, like he can completely change a game just by the way he plays. I mean, he controls a game by the way he plays. Everything is centered around him. USC gave him the ball almost every possession down the floor, and he either created for his teammates or just backed down or even shot the 3-point shot and was super efficient. So I feel like he's just a player to watch no matter where he is on the court. And I feel that he's obviously a good defender. I mean, how tall is he? 7 foot. So he's going to be
huge.
Yeah, he can. Yeah, he'll be really good in the paint. I mean, he'll be a rim defender, but also like he's quicker than people think. Like he's fast when it comes to centers. So when it comes down to it, obviously his strength is his offensive side of the ball, but also his defense is good. So he's a great all around player, and I really like the fit with the Cavs because they have a couple of young guards. I think they're probably going to move Sexton. But if they, with Garland and him, I feel like that's a 1-2 punch. In a couple of years, it'll be really, really good because both of them are explosive and both of them have like kind of that capability to play off of their teammates. So I really like Evan Mobley's fit here. I feel that he's going to be a really, really good player. And making this prediction now, he'll be a top 5 center in 3 years. That's my prediction for him, just because I think that he's gonna be up there with some of the best just because his athleticism for a center is extremely good. So
yeah, I mean, he is extremely athletic, but I'm a little bit scared about just how like thin he is. You can even see in this photo, like he doesn't look like he weighs much more than 210 pounds, and he's literally a 7-footer, like you said. I'm a little bit scared about his jump shot as well. I think in college, he struggled to shoot above 30% from 3, so that's a little bit scary to me. But yeah, obviously if he can figure out his jump shot and really bulk up, if he's a big 7-footer or at least an average-sized one who can shoot the ball, like he showed minor flashes of in college, he could be really scary in the NBA.
I mean, he's one of, like, when he gets into the league, he's going to be one of, like, I don't know, 5 to 10 centers that can actually shoot the 3-point ball. I mean, he's not going to be shooting the ball that much, obviously, as a center, but he might have not been shooting very well. Like, he might have not been efficient, but like I said, he was efficient overall because he can do so much. I mean, when you see him in the paint, he's not like, he doesn't like flail all the time. He doesn't just like go up and not have any chance of scoring. I mean, his scoring ability from every type of the floor, like, that's impressive. I mean, that's what's made, like, other than Jokic being able to pass the ball, that's what's made Jokic and Embiid so good, that they have the ability to not only create for their teammates anywhere on the court, but go up and shoot it, go up and drive. I mean, they're just such dynamic centers that I feel like Evan Mobley can do similar things. I mean, he's definitely a project. He's not going to be able to do that in his first or second year. Like you guys said, he's thin and he's not the most NBA ready player in the world, but when he gets to that point, I mean, he's going to be definitely dangerous in a top 5 center in a couple of years, in my perspective.
I mean, I think that Evan Mobley, he's like the center that any team would really, really love to have on their team, like at this point in the NBA, because there's like it's getting a little more common that centers are shooting, and at least Evan Mobley has the confidence to shoot the 3-ball. There are many centers in the NBA who don't even try to attempt a 3-pointer, but you're seeing teams struggling to compete because they don't have a center. Their spacing is just totally messed up. You saw the Pelicans today as we're filming. They had to trade for a center who could stretch the floor because Steven Adams in that spacing with that team just did not work out. So they traded for Jonas Valanciunas who can stretch the floor. And I think Evan Mobley is going to be, I would sort of compare his ceiling to maybe someone like Jaren Jackson Jr., but like better than Jaren Jackson Jr. because he's a great, like Tyler said, he's great in transition. He's a great rim protector and he can also shoot the ball. I think his shot develops. He's definitely going to be one of the best centers in the NBA. I like him better than Wiseman coming out of USC. So yeah, we have Evan Mobley at pick 3 going to the Cleveland Cavaliers. It'll be interesting to see if he goes here, what they'll do with Jared Allen in free agency.
I think if they take Evan Mobley, I feel like Jared Allen's leaving. I feel like he wants to be, like, Jared Allen deserves to be the starter. I think he's enough talent to be the starter. So if they take Mobley, I think Allen's gone. First one.
Now we'll move on to the 4th overall pick, which belongs to the Toronto Raptors, and we have them going with Jalen Suggs, point guard out of Gonzaga. Campbell, what are your thoughts on this pick? As most NCAA or NBA fans know, Jalen Suggs was the savior in the March Madness tournament, that amazing shot. What are your thoughts on him going forward to the Raptors?
Yeah, I mean, Jalen Suggs obviously played on one of the best college basketball teams this year, going undefeated up until the championship where they lost to Baylor. But yeah, he was on a stacked team and he really played well despite all the talent that he was surrounded by, which I was really impressed by. I thought he might, coming out of high school, I thought he might take a dip going into the draft, but he really impressed me this year. His playmaking around other stars was super impressive to me, seeing how he can get his teammates involved all the time, and obviously he's a great defender. And I mean, I feel like there's some guys who there's a presence to him that sort of makes me feel that he's going to have a successful NBA career, just the way he carries himself on and off the court. So, I mean, if he can get his jump shot going, he had a little bit of trouble with that in college. He could be a really good NBA player.
I mean, obviously we know what Jalen Suggs can do, and I mean, we saw that shot in March Madness. I mean, it might have been a little bit of luck, but the confidence to take that shot and put that up from there and, I mean, score that. You don't just score that, like, with complete luck. I mean, there's a little bit of skill in there. I'm not going to give him all the credit in the world, but there's a little bit of skill in there. But playing on such a stacked team, like Campbell said, it's impressive that he showed that he could be such a good player. We have him going 4 here. I love the fit with the Raptors. I think Kyle Lowry is gone. I feel like him and Fred VanVleet in the backcourt will be a great dynamic duo. They're both good scorers. Jalen Suggs is a good defender, or he's a pretty good defender, or decent, right?
Yeah. He's a good perimeter defender.
He's a good perimeter defender. So him and VanVleet are both good defenders. The Raptors thrive on their defense. So I love this pick for the Raptors. If Suggs goes here, I feel like him and Fred VanVleet could end up being like the best, like, front like two-way. No, that's not what I mean. Like offense and defense. You guys know what I mean. Two-way player in the league. Like he's so good on both. They could be the best other than
two-way backcourt in the league.
Two-way backcourt other than maybe Steph and Clay. Two-way backcourt in the league in a couple of years, because I just feel like they're both good defensively and they both have so much offensive skill too. I mean, Suggs is he's a great shooter. We saw that, but he also has that ability to get some assists. I like that from him. So I'm excited to see what Jalen Suggs can do.
I mean, I agree with you, Tyler. I think that Kyle Lowry is out. I think this is a dream scenario for the Raptors, and I think it's very likely to happen that Suggs falls into their laps at pick 4. I mean, a starting lineup of Jalen Suggs, Fred VanVleet, OG Anunoby, Pascal Siakam, and who do they have? Chris Boucher starting at center? I
think it's kind of likely that Siakam gets traded.
Well, they might trade him if they want to go in the direction of a rebuild. But if they don't, I mean, that team can definitely contend for a playoff spot.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I feel like Suggs is definitely really NBA ready.
I think he's a 15-point per game scorer in his rookie year. So I think he's definitely going to be able to contribute to that Raptors team and hopefully help them get back in the playoffs as they missed it this past year. But I think this is a perfect fit for the Toronto Raptors if they go with Jalen Suggs here at pick 4. Now we're going to move on to pick 5, which belongs to the Orlando Magic, and we have them selecting the small forward, another G League Ignite player, Jonathan Kuminga, project player. He's got all the potential in the world. Tyler, do you want to talk a little bit about Jonathan?
I don't really know much about Jonathan Kuminga. Obviously, he didn't play much college basketball this past year, but I mean, he's 6'8", as I see here. He's 225 pounds. That is a great size and span for a small forward, power forward in the NBA. I mean, it's just impressive overall. 7-foot wingspan too. That's actually incredible. But he's a lot of. I don't know much about Jonathan Kuminga, but I know that from watching a couple of G League Ignite games, I know that he has some shot making potential. I know that he might not have been the most efficient player on the offensive side of the ball. Like Dean said, he's a project. But if you can make shots as a small forward, power forward in the NBA, you're going to be decent. I mean, I feel like that's what comes down to it these days. But, yeah, he's good defensive player. That's also important. Definitely could be a player. I feel like, I mean, we'll talk about this a little later with another player, but kind of like a Patrick Williams kind of scenario where he's not that well known, but his skill set could make him end up being a good NBA player because he could end up being efficient on the offensive side of the ball, be a good three-point shooter, and then is also a really good defender. So that's all I'm going to say about Jonathan Kuminga.
I mean, some people are saying that he has the highest ceiling in this draft, which is why he's up here. I mean, he was one of the best other than CADE Cunningham, I think he was the second best high school basketball player in this class. I mean, I think that this isn't my opinion, but I've seen people compare his absolute ceiling to LeBron James. I've seen people say that. And I mean, he has the same.
Okay,
I know it's crazy. I know it's crazy because he is a huge project. I mean, he's super, super raw because he, like Tyler mentioned, his numbers from the G League weren't that impressive. He wasn't very efficient, but all the potential in the world is there. I like the comparison to Patrick Williams right out of the gate. He's not that well known, but he sort of got that 3-and-D potential. I like Jonathan Kuminga here. There's someone with the next pick who I don't want to spoil who might have been a better fit for the Magic. But Campbell, do you have anything to say about Kuminga?
No, I don't really have anything to add. But if he does turn out to be the next LeBron James, Tyler and I are both going to feel pretty bad about it.
Yeah. Just talking.
It was.
Yeah, that's true.
This isn't coming from me. I saw this somewhere.
It's like on buzzer cards when Dean compared Patrick Williams to Kawhi Leonard. I thought that was pretty funny too. But hey, that could happen. That could happen. That could happen. But just talking about the fit here really quick. This is what the Orlando Magic need. They need some firepower, both on the offensive side of the ball and someone that can stop good forwards in the NBA. I feel like that's what Kuminga brings. I mean, they have a lot of good guards in Cole Anthony. They have an up-and-coming one in RJ Hampton. And then they have Markelle Fultz coming back from a couple injuries. So I feel like their guard situation, for the most part, is kind of solved. They're really young. And then at the center position, they have Wendell Carter Jr., who I think could definitely be decent. a mid-tier to high-tier center in the NBA. I don't think he'll ever be all-star caliber. But if he can be like where like Miles Turner is now, like that kind of player, I feel like that is definitely what the Magic needs. So I feel like Jonathan Kuminga here for the Magic is definitely a good fit because he'll slot right into that starting power forward or small forward position.
All right, we're going to go to the 6th overall pick, which belongs to the Oklahoma City Thunder. And we have them taking another small forward, but this one out of Florida State, Scotty Barnes. Maybe someone who could have gone to the Magic earlier. I mean, Florida State just knows how to produce these 3-and-D wings. Scotty Barnes, maybe being the best of them because he was a 6th man at Florida this past year. So was Patrick Williams last year, and Devin Vassell was starting last year. But they know how to produce those high potential small forwards and wings. But I really like Scotty Barnes. Now, I know I said this about Patrick Williams, but I have seen people compare him to Scotty Barnes to Kawhi Leonard. I have seen that. And I actually like Scotty Barnes better than Patrick Williams. If there's anyone I had to bet who is going to be better than CADE Cunningham, I'd probably bet Scotty Barnes or Jalen Green. But
wow,
I think
that's bold. That's bold.
I know. I think he's going to be really good. He's really, really efficient. I think he can shoot the 3-ball really well, and he's the best perimeter defender in the draft, in my opinion. I mean, that's where the Kawhi Leonard comparisons come. He's got a very lengthy wingspan, and I really like him coming out of Florida State.
Yeah, I mean, I think Scotty Barnes is sort of just expanding off of what Dean said. He's one of the safer picks in this draft. At the very worst, he's just a hustle guy who plays really good defense every single possession. And at the best, he can be a solid offensive player along with his defensive talents, making him a potential all-star someday.
Yeah, like Dean was talking about. I mean, Scotty Barnes can guard positions 1 through 5 on the court. He can guard point guard, shooting guard, everywhere in between. So, I mean, everywhere from point guard to center on the court. You can't say that about many players. I feel like one of the only players you could say that about is Ben Simmons. And Scotty Barnes has better offensive potential, than Ben Simmons. So I feel that Scotty Barnes not only is going to be a great defender, both on the perimeter and in the paint, but also that he can cause mismatches because of his size. I mean, he's quick. He played point guard for FSU, for Florida State University, obviously, which is incredible as he's, I think, 6'9", right? So, I mean, if he can play point guard and then also be a potential starter at small forward or power forward, I mean, that is something that any NBA team could use. I feel like a fit with the Thunder alongside Shai Gilgeous-Alexander would be good. Up-and-coming team, they would give him the ability to blossom. So I like the fit here, and also like I agree with Dan. I feel like Scotty Barnes could definitely be a really good player in the league. I don't know if he'll ever be past CADE Cunningham. I definitely think that's possible, but he definitely does have a high ceiling.
Yeah, and he's definitely going to get a lot of reps since the Thunder have a very young and up-and-coming team. Now we're going to move on to the Warriors' first lottery pick at pick 7, where we have them selecting Davion Mitchell, point guard out of Baylor. I know Tyler has a bit to say about Davion Mitchell, so Tyler, I'm going to let you take it away on this one.
So Dean and I were talking about, I think maybe a month ago, right after March Madness ended, we were talking about college players that we're looking to invest in when they get NBA cards. First player I said was Davion Mitchell. I think that he's going to be a really, really good NBA player just because he's literally a lockdown defender and also has great skill on the offensive side of the ball. I mean, if you watch any games of March Madness, you saw that Davion Mitchell can shoot the ball really, really well. He's a great three-point shooter, but he's also, you could literally tune in for 5 minutes and you can see that Davion Mitchell was the best defender on the court. So I feel like just that alone makes him a lottery pick, and just that alone makes him kind of like arguably you can make the case for him for being the best defender in this draft class. He won Big 12 Player of the Year. He won Naismith. He was a Naismith All-American, I think, too, if I'm correct. But it's really impressive. He doesn't have very many weaknesses either on the offensive side of the court. I mean, if you see, maybe he's an aggressive driver. Obviously, his size is something that you can be concerned about just because there are players that can go up and, reject the ball. Obviously, he's 6'2", but, he can use his size to his advantage sometimes, get below players, get by them. It's definitely something that that kind of will help him, but also make him weaker. Quick change of pace too. So He's a fast player. He's speedy. He's good on the offensive side of the ball, good three-point shooter, and a lockdown defender. Not much else I can say about Davion Mitchell, but I really like him going into his first NBA season. I feel like sitting behind Steph Curry would be the perfect thing for him too. So yeah.
I want to piggyback off of what Tyler said at the end. Him learning behind Steph Curry. I mean, the only small concern with Davion Mitchell, I mean, I know he was lights out during the March Madness run that Baylor had. Obviously, they won the entire tournament, and that raised his stock exponentially. But Davion Mitchell, like, even though he was a very good shooter during the March Madness tournament, like throughout that might be his only weakness. Like, maybe he's not going to be able to hit the 3-pointer as well in the NBA, but I think him going to the Warriors and sitting behind Steph Curry is great because, again, they don't. I mean, Damian Lee is their backup point guard right now, and if I
think it's Jordan Poole.
Well, Jordan Poole plays the two. Jordan Poole plays the two because when Clay was out, he was playing the two. But I think Davion Mitchell could just kick him out of this rotation and just start right behind, or be in the rotation right behind Steph Curry. I really, really like this fit for him because, like I said, he can literally learn from the best shooters in the world. And if he's able to master that 3-point shot, he already has the defense set. He could be the best player in this draft class. There's so many great guys in this draft class. So I really, really love this fit with Davion Mitchell to the Warriors.
He's also a winner. I mean, you always love to see winners in the NBA. To have that mentality, to want to win, to have that work ethic, I feel like that's always a plus too, and Davion Mitchell has that, so I like that about him too.
All right, we're going to be moving on to the 8th overall pick, the Orlando Magic's second pick in this lottery. We're going to have them taking Moses Moody, shooting guard out of Arkansas. And, I mean, the Orlando Magic, if they take Jonathan Kuminga, they're going to have maybe a starting lineup of, it depends, Cole Anthony or Markelle Fultz. It might be Markelle Fultz at the point guard. Maybe they do that. If they take Moses Moody, it'll be Moses Moody, Jonathan Isaac, Jonathan Kuminga, and Wendell Carter Jr. I mean, they have a bunch of positions that are filled sort of at this point, but you can never go wrong with just taking a wing with a high ceiling because Moses Moody, a 3-and-D potential type of guy, he's very, very good at shooting the 3 ball, which is super, super valuable in the NBA. And I think that his shooting is just going to be it's going to be enough for him to go in the lottery because he's been a big riser. He led Arkansas to the Elite 8. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think they went to the Elite 8.
Yeah, and
that raised his draft stock so much. So I really, really like this pickup for Orlando because they, like I said earlier, they already have so many positions sort of filled out, and just adding another wing who can shoot the ball and play some defense is just going to be a very nice addition to their little rebuild they have going on right here.
Yeah, I like the pick for a shooting guard here. Obviously, Moses Moody's a great player, good shooter, good wingspan. Probably he's going to be a good defender in the NBA too. Definitely think if they end up wanting to go shooting guard here, definitely feel like Moses Moody's a candidate. Keon Johnson out of Tennessee's a candidate. He's also a player to watch to go in the lottery. I like him. And then also James BOUKNIGHT from UConn, who we might have going a little later, is also going to be a candidate here if they end up going shooting guard. All 3 of those players I feel like are well deserving. All 3 players are great offensive players. So, yeah.
All right, we're going to move on to the 9th overall pick. We have the Sacramento Kings selecting small forward out of Duke, Jalen Johnson. Now, Jalen Johnson, I believe, he pulled out of this past NCAA season like midway through. He just wanted to focus on the draft. So, I mean, he was pretty good at Duke, averaging around a dozen points per game, pretty efficient stuff. But I think that Jalen Johnson, he's going to be a project player for the Kings. I think fit is very important right here because he has a very high ceiling as he's super, super athletic. He's a great driver, and he's got that mid-range shot. And, I mean, if Buddy Hield, I know he's been in some trade talks, but maybe he can help him practice his 3-point shot if he stays on the Kings. But I think fit is very important here because I think the Kings sort of have a hole at the small forward and power forward position because Marvin Bagley, who really knows what's going to happen with him, maybe the Kings capitalize on his value when he's still young. He hasn't really worked out there, and Harrison Barnes is aging, so maybe he can learn from the veteran who's coming off a very good season. I know Campbell really, really likes his boy Harrison. So I really like this pick for Sacramento. I think he's going to have a lot to learn, and I think he has potential to be an all-star if he connects on all cylinders. And yeah, I think that Jalen Johnson is a perfect fit for the Sacramento Kings at pick 9 right here.
First of all, I got to defend Harrison Barnes, who's only 29 for your information.
Oh, come on, Dean. You
I don't
called him
know if
old?
I say,
No, I didn't. I said he's not the long-term answer. I didn't
No,
call
you
you
called
said he
him
was
old. You called him
aging.
old.
Never
I said he- okay,
disrespect
okay.
Harrison Barnes.
So, okay, but he's not the long-term answer. He's on a
And-
horrible
and
contract. He could be traded this
Hey,
offseason.
don't disrespect Marvin Bagley either. Marvin Bagley has a lot left in him. Lot left. He goes to a team where he's the number
Right,
one
but Marvin
option. Like
Bagley
the
plays the
Pistons.
power forward. He plays power forward. This is a small forward. All I'm saying is that Harrison Barnes, he could be traded to a contender this year. Don't lie. Harrison Barnes could be traded to a contender.
And
So
also,
if
I think Marvin Bagley, I was joking. Marvin Bagley's like, I don't know. He has some potential left. Just like, you just don't hear his,
wasted potential.
Yeah, you just don't hear his name a lot. Like, you just don't hear his name.
He's injured all the time. And when he's on the floor, he's not very good.
Something interesting to bring up is that the Kings last year, pick 11, I think they had, drafted for just best player available rather than fit. I mean, they took Tyrese Halliburton, who's a point guard, even though they had De'Aaron Fox on the roster. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. Maybe they go fit here just to fill a gap that they have. Obviously, Harrison Barnes probably isn't the future answer, and Marvin Bagley, in my perspective, isn't going to be their starter for that much longer. I don't even know if he was their starter this past year. So definitely think that Jalen Johnson's a good answer here. But one more player that I like going to the Kings here. I feel like they need a center. I don't know who the best center still available is, but whoever that is it?
I mean, Kai Jones plays power forward center, and then there's Alperen Sengun, and yeah, that's basically it for the centers around.
Yeah, I feel like maybe I feel like because I think Richaun Holmes is going to leave. I think Richaun Holmes is going to go to a contender, potentially maybe the Lakers. I would like to fit with the Lakers. A couple other players. I think he's underrated. I know Dean thinks he's underrated, so I think Richaun Holmes is gone. So potentially draft a center here if they want to fill that gap too. But I like the Jalen Johnson fit here, not only because Jalen Johnson has a lot of potential, but because that is a gapping need that they need.
All right, we're going to move on to the 10th overall pick, which belongs to now the Memphis Grizzlies. Glad we recorded this the same day they made the trade with the Pelicans. We have them selecting James Bouknight, shooting guard out of UConn at pick 10. I mean, the Grizzlies, they like the Magic after their 2 lottery picks, they have basically their starting lineup set. I mean, they have John Morant, Dylan Brooks, Kyle Anderson, Jaren Jackson Jr., and now Steven Adams. But if Kyle Anderson, I mean, he's coming off his best season of his career. No one really saw that coming. But like Harrison Barnes, I don't really know if he's the long-term answer there at the small forward spot.
Kyle Anderson.
I'm disrespecting all these.
He is 10 years left. Quote me.
I'm disrespecting all these veterans who just have random breakout seasons like 10 years into their careers. But I think that
I'm pretty sure he's like 25. That's like he moves extremely slow. No, I think I'll look it up right now.
He's late 20s like Harrison. He's late 20s.
No, he's not. No, he was drafted like maybe 4 or 5 years ago.
27.
No way.
27.
Yeah, 27.
Okay.
He was drafted.
Either way.
Either way, if they could slide Dylan Brooks to the 3 and run lineups with James Bouknight at the 2. We haven't even talked about James Bouknight as a player. I mean, he's a very explosive shot creator. And I think that's what the Grizzlies need because other than Ja, they don't really have that. Dylan Brooks can't really create his own shot. I mean, they have Desmond Bane, shooting guard, coming off the bench, coming off his rookie year. All he can do is shoot threes and come off screens. James Bouknight can actually handle the ball for himself, and I think that's what they need. They need someone else who can ball handle, who can pass, and who can score for themselves and create their own shot. Because at the end of the day, like I mentioned, John Morant's basically the only person on that team who can do that. So I think that's going to be really valuable for the Grizzlies because they traded Jonas Valanciunas for basically this pick and Steven Adams, but mainly this pick. And I think that if they can snag someone like James Bouknight who could potentially even go higher, that's a total steal for them.
I feel like it's very similar. Like his college situation was very similar to Cole Anthony's. Cole Anthony's UNC team, the year he was there, was not good whatsoever. But there was one thing that stood out, and that was his skill set. And I feel like the same thing was with this situation with James Bouknight. I mean, the UConn team wasn't very good, but his offensive skill set just stood out. I mean, the only reason people really turned on UConn games was to watch what he could do. He's a great finisher, but he's also a great 3-point shooter, one of the best scorers in college basketball this past season. So I like the fit here alongside John Morant. I feel like him and John Morant would be a really good match just because when one finishes, the other can pop out for 3. And I feel like their skill sets are very matching in a way. So, I mean, John might be a little better of a finisher, but James Bouknight's 3-point shot is nice. I feel like he's going to be good. So I like this fit here, and I like James Bouknight's future in the NBA.
All right, now we're going to move on to pick 11 in the lottery, which belongs to the Charlotte Hornets. We have them taking power forward center out of Texas, Kai Jones, a very explosive rim runner. I think he's a discount Evan Mobley because he can set screens. He can pick and pop. I'm not going to say he can shoot the 3 because he's very inefficient when he shoots the 3, but at least he has the confidence. And hey, maybe he can develop into someone like a Miles Turner because at the end of the day, the Charlotte Hornets literally haven't had a good center literally in forever since they've had Cody Zeller on their team for like 13 years. And he's a free agent. Same with Bismack Biyombo. If they don't sign a center, which they might not, I think they take Kai Jones right here because he's going to be so great in the pick and roll with LaMelo, who can just toss him alley-oops all day long, and he's very, very tall like Evan Mobley. He might need to bulk up a little, but other than that, I really, really like this fit because I think he just his energy would be perfect in Charlotte because he's so explosive and very fun to watch. So I like Kai Jones going here to the Hornets at pick 11.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know a lot about Kai Jones, but from what I've read and the few things I've seen, like Dean said, he's a rim runner, which is exactly what LaMelo Ball needs. And also he can just play defense on multiple positions. He can play on and off the ball, which is, appealing to any NBA team.
Yeah, I saw in his scouting report that he shot 38% from 3, which is incredible for a power forward, small forward. He shot 38% in his sophomore year. In his sophomore year. What year was this? I don't know.
Is he a sophomore or junior?
I don't know, but it said he shot 38% as a sophomore. I'm guessing that's probably not the past year because they would just. But he thought he shot 38% in a year.
It couldn't have been on that many attempts.
Yeah,
it couldn't have been on that many.
But
attempts.
He's a decent 3-point shooter. He had a 33. Campbell said 33%.
He only attempted 33.
Oh. I mean, still 38%. That's not bad. So if he could do anything close to that in a Hornets offense that plays a lot of pick and roll with LaMelo Ball, an explosive pick and roll offense between LaMelo Ball and Kai Jones, and then also Miles Bridges there. Gordon Hayward can pop out for the 3. That's a dangerous offense. So I like that. I like the fit here. Obviously, the Hornets have no center on their roster, basically. So I think they'll look either for the draft or they'll look in the market potentially if Montrezl Harrell wants to leave the Lakers. Maybe he'll be in the running for that Hornets starting job if they want to go out and get him. So definitely think that the Hornets like this fit here for the Hornets and Kai Jones. He's athletic, so that's definitely a plus when you have LaMelo Ball in your backcourt. So.
Imagine being LaMelo Ball and going from Cody Zeller and Bismack Biyombo to someone like Kai Jones, who's not he's very, very athletic, and he's a high flyer. There's so many high flyers on that team. Maybe they bring Malik Monk back, and they literally have Malik Monk, Miles Bridges, and Kai Jones. That'll be a very, very explosive team for the future. So I really like it if they were to go Kai Jones right here at pick 11. Now moving on to pick 12, getting closer to the end of the lottery, we have Andrew. Andrew's still at camp. I think he's coming back.
Where is Andrew right now?
In a few days.
Andrew's a huge smile on his face.
I don't even know if he has a huge smile on his face because I bet he wants him to go top 10. But we have the San Antonio Spurs selecting Franz Wagner, airball machine, small forward out of Michigan. If you know, you know. In the March Madness bracket, he absolutely airballed the shot to end their championship hope, or not championship hopes. What was this? The Elite Eight or something?
Was it Sweet 16 against UCLA, right?
Sweet 16 versus UCLA. Game winner, games on the line, and he absolutely airballs a wide open three.
Games on the line, aliens pointing at the earth. I want Franz Wagner.
I mean, we're making Franz Wagner seem like he's a horrible prospect, but I mean, he's got that three. He's still, even though he absolutely bricks a bunch of 3-pointers in big moments, I think the Spurs would definitely like him and take a look at him because they have their backcourt in sort of small forward set because they have DeJounte Murray, they have Keldon Johnson, they have Devin Vassell, DeMar DeRozan. I'm like Kyle Lowry. I think they're both out of their teams. I think they both want to go to contenders. I think Franz Wagner, he can still play the 4, so I think he can slide right into that starting 4 spot, just replace DeMar DeRozan, and I like that because, as many NBA fans know, he's not a foreign prospect, but he's foreign, just like his older brother. Hopefully, he can be better than Mo Wagner since he's not very good. But I think he has 3-point potential. He's basically an offensive. He's an offensive player. He can create his own shot too, which is pretty nice. Something the Spurs sort of need as there are a lot of defense. And I think that Greg Popovich can definitely mold him into a more defensive, not minded player, but more of a defensive player. So I really like this pick for the Spurs right here at pick 12.
Yeah, I mean, although Franz Wagner did miss the single biggest shot of his career from 3, he did shoot near 40% from 3 in this past year of college basketball, which is crazy for someone who's 6'10". So, yeah, I mean, it was not good to see what he did in March Madness this year. He didn't do anything too impressive, so his draft stock fell a little bit. But yeah, I think he could still be a good fit with the Spurs.
All right, we're going to move.
I don't have anything to say about Franz Wagner. I mean, I'm a Keldon Johnson fan. I feel like the Spurs are going to be all around Keldon Johnson, DeJounte Murray. If Franz Wagner wants to be there and help out a little bit and provide some 3-point shooting, that's all good with me. I feel like he's going to be a really good 3-point shooter. I don't really know about much about him, but I know he's a pretty good defender too. So Greg Popovich loves his defenders. So definitely think that he's a candidate to go to the Spurs at 12.
Tyler, don't worry. If he goes to the Spurs, he'll probably end up playing power forward and he won't steal Keldon Johnson shots. Probably.
You better not, dude. That investment would go to waste.
All right, so we have Franz Wagner, pick 12 of the San Antonio Spurs. Now moving on to the second to last pick of the lottery for the Indiana Pacers. We have them taking our first foreign prospect, I believe, or playing overseas. We have Josh Giddey, small forward out of Australia. I really, really like this pickup for him for the Indiana Pacers because he can also handle the ball really well. He played point guard at his club in Australia too, but he has the frame and size of a small forward. And there have been a lot of trade talks of Malcolm Brogdon maybe being out of Indiana, and he's a great playmaker. He can shoot the 3-ball very efficiently and effectively too. So, I mean, I don't know as much about Josh Giddey as I know about other prospects earlier in the lottery, so I'm not going to sit up here and pretend that I've watched too many Australia games because I haven't. But all I know is that Josh Giddey is a very, very good playmaker, and I think he can definitely help out the Indiana Pacers as maybe they're looking to go in more of a younger direction for their future.
Yeah, I don't know basically anything about Josh Giddey. This is one of the first times I've ever heard his name, but I know he's from a little bit of a scouting I've done. I know that he's extremely young, so I know that he's a lot of room to improve. Obviously, he's never played in the United States. He's from Australia, so definitely he's going to come to a surprise. He's going to come as a surprise to a lot of NBA fans because I feel like that young athleticism and talent, a tall point guard, is definitely going to be useful for the Indiana Pacers if they end up taking him alongside Malcolm Brogdon. So yeah, I think he'll be a pretty good NBA player if he ends up getting that shot to become consistent and can really use his size to his advantage.
All right, so we are going to move on to the final pick of the lottery. We have our second Gonzaga Bulldog going right here. We have Corey Kispert to the Golden State Warriors, their second lottery pick and the final pick of the lottery. Corey Kispert, lights out shooter, probably the best shooter in the, what would you guys say, the best shooter in this draft class?
Yeah. I mean, other players can make a case, but I mean, if you watch Corey Kispert shoot, he's the best draft class. He's the best shooter in the draft class.
His form is just magnificent. It is crisp. But
no other way to put it.
He is at the end of the sharp shooter.
Yes.
At the end of the day, the Warriors just need bench depth because they have 2 lottery picks, and their starting lineup is going to be set for next year. Kelly Oubre, his future sort of uncertain with Golden State as he's a free agent. If Golden State doesn't plan on re-signing him, and Corey Kispert is right here at 14, there's literally no reason why they shouldn't take him because he's going to be able to contribute immediately. He's a senior, right?
Yeah, this is a guy
So,
you sort
I
of
mean-
know exactly what you're getting.
Exactly. He's going to be NBA ready, and he's going to be able to knock the 3 ball down at.
That's
he's
that's
gonna be
their
one of the
offense. That's
Yeah,
their
he's gonna
offense.
be one
But
of the
They play.
he doesn't have that much potential either, since he's
Right. But I mean, someone like Duncan
He's like
Robinson
Joe
is
Harris
super,
potential
super
person,
valuable.
is my
Well,
point
Joe
of view.
Harrison.
Yeah.
Well, I think he can be a better shooter than Joe Harrison. That's the same
Yeah.
because Joe Harrison.
But like his role on a
Very good
team is
shooter.
going to be
Yeah.
like Joe Harris's.
right.
because-
I
But
agree with that.
because the Golden State
Wow.
Warriors literally
We
shoot
are-
so many threes.
We
But-
are really doing Corey Kispert dirty right now.
no, but Corey Kispert.
Calling his
that-
potential Joe Harris potential.
Come on, Joe
No, but
Harris
that's
was really good against the Bucks and
Joe
throughout
Harris
the
is
whole
an
playoffs.
$18
It's not
million
like he shot
a
like
year
10% from 3.
player. I mean,
No, but I mean, I feel like Corey Kispert here is exactly what the Warriors need. I would be surprised if they kept both of the picks just because I feel like they're looking to win now. But if they do end up keeping both of the picks, I feel like coming out with Davion Mitchell and Corey Kispert is definitely really good for him. And talking about Corey Kispert, he's exactly what they need. A guy that shoots the ball on the wing. I mean, they play 1 through 4 positions on the wing. Draymond Green, for most of the time, I mean, he's in the middle a little bit, but you see him on the wings and out by the 3-point line a good amount. So you see that they play sometimes, most of the time, 3 to 4 on the 3-point line, and then maybe a center in the middle. But Corey Kispert just standing literally by the out of bounds line on the right side or on the left side, literally just ready to shoot. If Steph Curry and Klay Thompson miss, or if they don't have an open shot, give it to Corey Kispert. It's exactly what they need. I mean, he fits straight into that offense, so I like that pick for them.
Yeah, and just saying one more thing before we wrap up this mock draft. I mean, Corey Kispert, like it's very obvious that he's a lights out shooter, and I think the fit's perfect. Juan Toscano Anderson right now is their backup small forward. I'm sure he might have some problems with trying to knock off Corey Kispert from stealing his job, but I think that Corey Kispert's going to be able to slide right into this Warriors team. If Kelly Oubre doesn't come back, I think this is a perfect pick for the Warriors because Kelly Oubre, small forward, Corey Kispert, small forward, boom, match made in heaven, and Corey Kispert literally plays how the Warriors want everyone on their team to play, shooting
As long as
threes.
he plays like Joe Harris, he's all good. That's all I know. He plays like Joe Harris, he's going to have a role on the team.
Yep, players like Joe Harris can earn themselves about $18 million a year, so that's pretty valuable in the NBA. But that's going to wrap it up for this week's episode of At the Buzzer. Make sure you follow us on all social media platforms and the podcast platform you're listening on today. It's been Dean, Campbell, and Tyler, and we'll see you next week.